David here with figbootonpens. One of the biggest decisions about purchasing a fountain pen is deciding on a nib. It's a big decision, and it's one that for some pens you're pretty much stuck with. Changing out nibs on some pens are easier than others, but if you don't know what you're doing, it could be very easy to damage a nib or the feed during the process. What would be cool is if you could adjust the nib on your pen to suit your preference and writing style for different situations. Well, what I have for you today is a pen that can do just that. And that pen is the Pilot Justus 95. What I'm going to do is go over the parts and features of the Justus 95, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for, show some measurements, some size comparisons, and then provide a writing sample. The pen arrives in this box, which is different than any other Pilot box I've seen. Pilot's packaging has a tendency to be a bit generic, so it's nice to see something a little bit different. I don't know how you can see it in the light, but the sleeve has Justus and Pilot embossed on it, and kind of a bit of a grainy texture. The sleeve slides off, and the box inside carries over the same look and feel, and even the same embossed text. The top lifts off, and inside we have some interesting packaging. First of all, there's a clear plastic covering that holds the protective foam and the use and care guides. We'll take that off. And this is just a standard use and care guide for all Pilot pens, or virtually all of them. And then there's the protective foam, and then inside we have the pen, which sits in the padding. And on the padding is a little silver sticker, and in Japanese it basically says the instructions are underneath. So let me just take the pen out of here. And then you slip this off, and underneath we have a black Pilot converter, or I'm sorry, a cartridge. And then we have another use and care guide, which isn't generic. It's actually specific to the Justus. And it says on the front here, the fountain pen with nib tension adjuster. I like some of the comments that they had in here. Under the remarks, it says, do not use except for writing. Okay, that's a good idea. Also, keep away from children. Okay, and then also it says, please be careful or take care not to drop these fountain pens. The shock could cause them to malfunction. That is a good tip. Now, here's the pen, the Pilot Justus 95. Now, why is this pen called the Justus 95? In regard to the word Justus, I'll give you a multiple choice quiz. The meaning behind it is A, the fourth Archbishop of Canterbury, B, an album by the Monkees, or C, a combination of the words adjust and us. The answer is C. The name is derived from the words adjust and us, and its meaning is a perfect fit for us. Now, how about the 95? Now, that part of the name is in line with Pilot's standard numbering system for their pens. If a Pilot pen has a 2-digit number, then the number signifies the age of the Pilot Pen Company at the time of the launch of the pen. Pilot was founded back in 1918, so for example, the Pilot Custom 74 was launched in 1992, when the company was 74 years old. If a pen has a 3-digit number in the name, the first 2 digits represent the age of Pilot at the launch of the pen, and the last number is the first digit of the recommended retail price. So a Pilot Custom 823 was first introduced in the year 2000, which was Pilot's 82nd anniversary, and the suggested retail price was 30,000 yen, so 823. Now, in regard to conversion to US dollars, it's rather easy to convert yen. It's a little less than a penny per yen. So 30,000 yen, you take 1% of that, which is like $300, and take about 10% off of that, and you end up with about $270, which is pretty close to the actual exchange figure. So, using the Pilot numbering system, the Justus 95 was introduced in 2013. The pen is actually a reissue of an earlier Justus model released in the early 80s. So let's actually take a closer look at this pen. It's a decent sized pen. It's made of resin, and it's similar in length to the Pilot 823. And all the trim is gold plated. And let's start at the finial here. The end of the pen is shiny and has the smallest of step downs. We have a small rounded band, and then we have the clip. The clip kind of resembles a sword a bit, and has some nice engraving on it. It functions well in both thin and thicker pockets. The cap angles up just a little bit, and then we have a double cap band. The smaller cap band is flat, then the main larger cap band is raised, and on one side it says Justus 95, and on the other side is Pilot Japan. I like how the letters on this cap band, as well as some of other Pilots, are filled with black lacquer. I'm assuming it's black lacquer. The Pilot does that on a number of the pens, and I like how it really makes the letters pop a bit. There is a very small angled step down to the barrel, which is straight, and then tapers down just slightly near the end, where we have another small rounded cap band, and then the end piece of the pen, which is smooth, lacking the texture of the cap and barrel and matching the finial. About that texture, that's one of my favorite things about this pen. I like pens that have a distinct feel to them. Ones that if you were blindfolded and picked up, you could just instantly identify what it is. The Justus 95 comes in two finishes. There is a barley corn guilloche, which has kind of a group of wavy lines, or there is the straight line version, which is the model I have here. You can take a look at the lines here. They provide a very interesting tactile experience that I enjoy. It's different than any other Pilot in my collection, and somewhat similar to the techniques used on a couple of the Platinum 3776 Lake Series pens, like the Yamanaka or the Kawaguchi. The cap twists off to reveal what this pen is really about. This 14 karat gold adjustable nib. You can see that on the top of the nib, there is a tension bar. On one side of the nib, it says Pilot Japan. And on the other side, it's stamped with M for medium and 14K585, which means this nib contains 58.5% gold. And here's a look at the plastic feed. I believe this pen is available in 3 different nib sizes: fine, medium fine, and medium. Now, in regard to this adjustable nib, here on the section there is a rotating tension adjuster. You can see here that if you rotate it to the left, the tension bar will extend, stiffening the nib. And if you rotate it to the right, the bar will retract for a softer writing experience. The section on the Justus 95 is rather long, but actually very comfortable. At first I thought the grooved tension adjuster here would be a bit uncomfortable because your grip rests right on top of it, but I don't find it to be that way at all. In fact, it actually helps me keep a good grip on this rather straight section that only has the slightest of flares at the end here. There is another gold band and a very small step up to the threads, which I don't find to be sharp at all. For the size, it's a rather light pen. Not as light as, let's say, the Pilot Falcon, though. Those are really light. This cap does post, and it posts rather deep and is very secure. And this is actually a pen I actually prefer to use posted in order to gain the extra weight of the cap. I find that having it posted throws off the balance of the pen at all, and it feels very comfortable in the hand. This is a cartridge converter pen, which will accept either proprietary Pilot cartridges or their converters. A Con 70 is included with the pen, and in my opinion, the Con 70 is one of the better converters out there. Rather than twisting a small piston knob, the Con 70 incorporates a system where you pump the end of the converter to suck the ink up into the converter. It has a decent ink capacity, and it's kind of fun to use as opposed to the standard twist-operated converter. The Justus 95 retails for around $315, though with a little searching you can find it available in the mid to low 200s, which makes this pen a little bit more attractive. Now, the big question I had in regard to this pen before I purchased it was, could I feel the difference between the hard and the soft settings? Now, I'll demonstrate it in the writing sample, but while it's not as drastic as I had hoped, you can indeed feel a bit of difference. I had figured when I had received this pen, I would kind of play around with it, determine what setting worked best for me, and then just leave it there. But that hasn't been the case. I find myself changing it back and forth often. I really enjoy the Justus 95. There's a lot to like about it. The size really works for me, and I enjoy the unique tactile feel. But I really like the uniqueness of the adjustable nib as well. And then on top of that, the nib performs very, very well, as we'll see in the writing sample. So now it's time for some measurements, some size comparisons, and then I'll show you how this adjustable nib performs in the writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Pilot Justus 95. In comparison to some other Pilot pens, here it is next to a Pilot 823. Then here it is next to a Custom Heritage 912. And then here it is with a Custom Heritage 92. And in regard to some other pens, here it is with a Visconti Opera Metal Aluminum Speedboat. Then here it is with a Pelican M805. And then finally, a somewhat new acquisition, a Sailor Kenreki. I really love, this is basically a Sailor Pro Gear style pen, but I really love the story behind this pen. I'll get into it more when I review the pen, but Sailor came out with this pen a while back to celebrate the 60th birthday of their nib designer. It's a pen filled with a lot of symbolism, and I'm enjoying it a great deal. But this is what it looks like in comparison to the Justus 95. To begin with, let's take a look at this tension bar in action. That the grooved grip and this part of the section are really connected, so you can hold it really anywhere on this part of the pen. You can either twist it like this, and you can see there it extends, and there it retracts. You got to be careful, just like that, is when you're retracting it, if you twist it too long or too hard, then the section will start to unscrew from the barrel. But typically I do it where I'm holding this, holding the tension bar and then twisting the barrel. Now it doesn't really make for a good demonstration, but you can see that there is the bar to the hard setting and there is the bar to the soft setting. So let's go ahead and do a writing sample now. Here we have the Pilot Justus 95, and this is a medium gold nib, and the ink that we're using is Pilot Namiki Blue. This is what the ink looks like. It's I kind of describe it as a mid-range blue, somewhat similar to a Lamy blue or even a Monteverde blue. It's not necessarily too bold or doesn't pop that much, but it's a decent blue. I really like the bottle though. This is the kind of bulbous bottle that it comes in. So I kind of like the design of that bottle. It looks a little interesting. So here we go with the rest of the writing sample. Okay, now that's with it on the soft setting, so let's go ahead and change this to the hard setting and see if there is much of a difference. Now, I will say that there isn't a ton of difference when it comes to the actual ink that's getting onto the paper, but it does feel a bit firmer, so I can feel the difference, so that it's doing what it says it's supposed to do. Now, in regard to some line variation, let's do it here with the soft setting. And then here we'll try it with the hard setting. Now there is a bit of difference there, and it is a little bit harder to get some line variation out of here. So here is just some progressive lines with the hard setting, and then with the soft setting. It's just a little bit easier to get a little bit more line variation out of there. It's not, like I said, it's not a huge difference, but there is a difference, and I can notice it. That in regard to wetness, this is a fairly wet nib. And in regard to reverse writing, it's a little on the scratchy side, and the reverse writing isn't really going to matter one way or the other with the tension nib. In regard to some fast writing on the soft setting, there's no problem at all. And this nib is fairly soft. It's very soft and fairly smooth. Kind of a little bit more smoother than some of the other typical Pilot nibs, which have a tendency to have a little bit more feedback to them. So it's definitely a different type of nib, which I enjoy very much, even without the tension bar. If I didn't have the ability to change the tension there, it's something that is a very pleasant nib regardless. So there you have the Pilot Justus 95. It's a very interesting pen which performs very, very well. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.